breakdown of crowdfunding page, what are the essentials you need to have, by Sandy Diao, Director of Strategic Program at Indiegogo. Please welcome. Please give a big hand.
Hi everyone, my name is Sandy. I'm the Director of Strategic Programs at Indiegogo, and today I'm going to be covering a very specific topic to crowdfunding. There is actually a lot that you can do when you're preparing a crowdfunding campaign, but today I want to focus on one piece of it. And that's the page, the most important asset that customers see when they first land on the campaign page. And just for a little bit of context so you know what I do, I work with our entrepreneurs, our startups, our companies who want to launch projects on the platform, and I help guide them, advise them through the entire process. So before we dive into talking about the Indiegogo campaign page, I want to give you a high-level introduction of what Indiegogo is so that you can understand what you're looking at. So the first thing you want to understand here is that relative to what Indiegogo and crowdfunding looked like many years ago, it's actually a place for products at all stages. What you may be more familiar with is crowdfunding in general, and that's funding for projects that are relatively new to the market, haven't launched yet, and are looking for a way to enter the market. And the second piece that we just introduced to our platform is the Indiegogo Marketplace. So if you have a product that's ready to be shipped or is already shipping, the Marketplace is a great channel for you to be able to place your products that are already ready to be shipped. And just to give you an idea of what that looks like on the Indiegogo site, on our crowdfunding site, you can see these new innovative ideas, from a piano bar with lights that teaches you how to play, to a headset that trains your mind to lose fat, to all sorts of different types of different new products. And this is what crowdfunding is great for. And then with our new marketplace, you can actually put your ready-to-ship products onto the platform. And these can include all sorts of things that you can see here, from skateboards to flashlights to tents and everything else. So at a high level, our platform, Indiegogo, has helped companies raise over $1 billion across over 230 countries, and that's something we continue aim to grow. So why do people crowdfund? Well, you have different goals for different entrepreneurs. Some people need to raise that first round of capital to actually manufacture their hardware. Other companies know what they want to build, have the capital to build it, but just want to test new ideas. And Indiegogo is a platform available to entrepreneurs across the world. So you can see here, Mate Bike is an electric bike that was run by a team from Copenhagen, raising over $6 million on our platform. And then we have here Flowhive, a team from Australia who launched a home beekeeping kit so that you can raise bees and have fresh honey from your backyard, raising over $12 million. Then you have a team from Shanghai, China, OmniCharge, the world's most powerful portable charging bank that has an AC port. Lofree, a mechanical keyboard, a team from Shenzhen, and it's a keyboard with mechanical action with a really nice modern aesthetic. And another recent project from our home base here in Hong Kong, Travis, a handheld portable translating device so that anywhere you go, you can interact with people around the world. So as you can see, different teams, different places, but what it all boils down to is this page that you're going to be showing your end customers. And for this workshop today, we're going to be walking through every step of running this campaign page. Now, before we start, we'll need to be aware of the logistics that we need set up on the back end before you can actually even launch the campaign page. The first one are the perks. What is it that you're offering? How many countries do you ship to? Which regions do you ship to? And are there costs associated with shipping to products in different countries? And then setting up your ads tracking, making sure that all of your page has all of your tracking pixels so that your Facebook, Google ads are tracked back to any sort of results that you achieve on the Indiegogo crowdfunding page. Your page short link. So before you actually launch the page, you might actually want to give this page link to media, but if your campaign is not live yet, this short link actually translates directly into your crowdfunding campaign page, and this link remains static so that it doesn't matter if you're launched not yet or not, this link will not change. And then lastly, your bank information. Things to be aware of like taxes or whether or not there are regulations around the amount of money that's coming into a bank account. All of this is important as you're setting up the back end. So these are things to just keep a lookout for before you actually launch. And then now here are the 10 elements to a typical campaign page. And I like to break this down into 3 different areas. So the first one is the section from 1 to 3 that gets people interested in learning more about what you're going to be offering. And this is typically the part where users decide whether or not they want to continue to stay on the page or just leave the page entirely. The second part gives a little bit more information about what you're offering, gets them more interested, you tell a little bit more detail about the features and the product. And then the last section is where you put in all the details about your project. And this helps customers verify whether or not they actually want to make the purchase. They might be looking for an answer to one specific question that they need answered before they decide to put their credit card in. So actually, even before step 1, there's a step preceding that, which is the point at which users enter the page, and that's your campaign card image. So when you're browsing the Indiegogo site, you can actually see dozens of projects on a single page. So how does one user decide whether or not they click in and continue to explore? Well, that's where the campaign card makes a difference. You can see that a campaign card is comprised of an image unit, a product title, and a product tagline, and then also the level of success that this project has achieved. So we know that images drive a lot of interest and gets people interested in clicking and learning more. So for this example here, going back to the portable power bank that we talked about, OmniCharge, you can see a very clear product shot with the name of the product itself and a brief description of exactly what it is. Once you click into the campaign card, it brings you to the area that we call the top of the fold. And the top of the fold is something that's very important that impacts metrics such as the bounce rate on the page and whether or not users continue to scroll down. Because if at this point you haven't gotten the interest of the user, they're going to leave the page, which is why everything on here must be the best that you can offer to the customer as they're browsing. So let's actually break this page, this top of the fold down piece by piece. The first one here is the video overlay image. When you click the button there, it plays your campaign video. But on top of the campaign video, you have to put the most enticing image possible that as clearly as possible illustrates what the product is. So in this shot here, you can see a product and it's being connected to a larger device, which is a laptop. And they give you an idea that the power in this battery is really strong, big enough to charge a laptop. And then a brief tagline powers all of your USB-C devices. Now going over here, OmniCharge, most powerful dual USB-C power bank. It tells exactly what it is, and a brief description. Powers nearly any device with 2 USB ports and fast charging ports. It also acts as a hub for file transfer. So these are the most compelling parts of the product. And you notice that you don't actually give all of the numerical specifications around these really nice features. Instead, you sort of tease them into wanting to read more. So you pull out the best that the product has to offer and get them to read more. Now, when a backer is interacting with a new brand for the first time, they really care about the team, both the name of the team as well as the location. So this is what a user will do. They'll see your campaign page, and then they'll open a new window, go to Google search, or whatever search engine they use locally, and then they'll type in the team name and the location and see if this team actually exists. This is the time in when you want to make sure that whether it's media articles or your own website, that you have information about your team set up so that they can have a validation for who you are and what it is that you do. Another number to look out here for is your total funds raised. But actually, even more important than that sometimes is the feeling that you are successful. So are you 100% funded, 400% funded, 4,000% funded? A team wants to know that the rest of the crowdfunding platform and community are behind and interested in this product. So this is something to consider when you're setting your goal. Do you want, you know that you want to raise $1 million on crowdfunding inherently, but is that something that you want to put on the platform? Or do you want to set a goal that's lower and more attainable so that you can show your community, yes, I'm capable of hitting my goals? So step 2 here is the campaign overview section. This is actually a relatively new section introduced in crowdfunding and on Indiegogo, where you get sort of a snapshot of everything else you're about to read. So the reason we're pointing this out specifically is that on the mobile experience for crowdfunding pages, the overview is the only section that's visible. And we know that half the traffic or more can come from mobile browsing. So let's say that a user is reading a Meta article, sees the link to OmniCharge and comes in. And then this is the only section they see before they click in to learn more. That's why in this section here, we want to be as concise as possible about what we're offering. Two other sections to note is the category of the project is in phones and accessories versus something like audio or outdoors. So just make sure that you're categorizing your project correctly so that people browsing the site are able to discover your project. And then another new feature on Indiegogo here is the product stage. Are you a product that's in concept stage, prototype stage, already in production, or even already shipping? Just remember that if you're claiming that you're already in production, you're going to need to prove it to our team. And this is our way to showcase to backers that this is a team that's worth you buying from and that can live up to their promises on shipping the product. And we know for a fact that products in prototype stage and beyond have a higher conversion rate than products in concept stage. So backers are looking out for, and they really do care about whether you're able to deliver the product. So the next step here is when you're browsing the page and looking along the top, one of the first things you see on the right-hand side will be the perks, which is what they can back into the crowdfunding project and ultimately purchase. So these are the two common perks that we see used the most. The first one is the regular perk. And the regular perks we want to stage in a different sequence of prices. We want to motivate, incentivize, and reward our earliest backers by offering them early birds or special prices. So when you first set it up, you'll notice that a lot of the perks you see on crowdfunding platforms have inherently a discount. So whatever it is that you ultimately hope will be your MSRP or retail price, you want to incentivize backers to say, hey, you're taking a risk with us because we're shipping this product much later, but we want your early support, so give them a discount. The second perk that is actually relatively new on the platform, but has already been used a lot, is called our secret perk. And a secret perk is basically a unique URL that can only be accessed by the people who click through the URL. And for a secret perk like this one here, the price point of $169 is only available to the people who are seeing this URL. So what that means is that for your pre-launch emails, the emails that you collect before you launch, you want them to feel special and you want to take care of them. So when you send them that email letting them know that you've already launched, send them a secret perk link and give them a price that no one else can see publicly on Indiegogo. And we know that this has an 89% higher conversion rate than regular perks. And then this is the actual content and the meat of where we start to introduce the product. So for the product introduction, you want to be concise. Start with a very clear product shot and your clearest description of what the product is. Also, add in the validation from people who aren't on your team, because of course your team will showcase the best that you have, but what about others? Either it's early customers, press, or media. Showcase everything that other people have said about you at the top, because it provides validation that everything you're about to say forthcoming is going to be true. So moving along down now, right after a brief product and project introduction, let's highlight everything that we're about to go through, and do that graphically. One common mistake I see on crowdfunding pages is that if your product has a lot of features, you're tempted to explain all of the features in detail with text. But most people do not read text. At most, they skim the bolded headlines, but they do not read the full descriptions. So if you want to give people a lot of information, for example, in this case, this team is trying to tell you what devices this power bank can charge, then lay it out graphically. And when I skim through it, and I can see the products that I use in that list, then I'm already interested. So always defer to using graphical illustrations to explain things. Now diving into the feature section, this section can actually be pretty tough to manage because your product probably has a lot of great benefits and a lot of great differentiators, but our suggestion is that you pull out your top 3 to 5 and go into detail on those. And not just detail, but visually illustrate them. When you're pulling out the features, let's go through the exercise of figuring out how we want to showcase it to our customers. So right here, this is the actual feature, which is it has a separate charging and discharging circuit module. But what does that mean for an end customer? If you had listed it on your tech specs and in your instruction manual and your packaging, that's probably how you would say it. But for your crowdfunding backers, tell them what that means and why that's important to them. So what it actually means is you can use this to control how much power you want to use. It's sort of like a battery management system. Okay, that's much more clear for me as a customer. And the second example here is this product has an OLED screen with a 32-bit ARM Cortex-M. What does that even mean to an end customer? Not really sure? Well, talk to a customer, ask them why anyone would need a display. It's used to monitor how much the OmniCharge is interacting with all of the devices that it's charging. So you know how much battery is left, you know how much power is being outputted to the different devices that you're charging. For a customer, that's a much more clear benefit than you telling them that it has an OLED screen. So once you pick your top 3 to 5 features, this is the section in which you can dive into more details. Diving into details, again, does not mean putting up a wall of text and telling everyone, hey, this is everything about my product ever. You still have to organize the information for them very clearly. 2 very good ways to do that. The first one is using a diagram of the picture, numbering it, and showcasing each part of the product that they might be interested in hearing a little bit more about. So that's a very clear type of illustration. And then, of course, the second one is anchoring the idea of the product to something that the customer might already be familiar with. So what you would want to do is pick 1 to 2 top competitors or competitive products on the market that people may already own or be more familiar with, and just showcase to them very, very directly what all of the benefits of your own product are. So in this case with the power bank, OmniCharge pulled out two of the best-selling charging banks on Amazon and pointing out all of the differences and all of the benefits. And for an end user, at a glance, it just totally makes sense why OmniCharge is better than all of these other products. I think one section that's rather undervalued in crowdfunding is the team section. This is a practice that actually came out years and years ago when the focus of crowdfunding was to back people and projects and the teams behind those projects. Over time, we saw the team section sort of get squished to the bottom and not become the center point of videos and pages anymore. And that's because people came in as an entry point, not necessarily for the team, but for the projects that they were interested in. But it's actually still a very critical part of the project. So at Indiegogo, we actually conduct a lot of user testing, which means that we show these pages to our backers and ask them, what do you think? And the number one point that comes out in all of them is, I want to learn more about the team. I'm just going to scroll down and see what their background is and see if they're even qualified to run a project like this. So talk a little bit about what you're working on. Tell them what you do, where you come from, how you got to working on this project. And don't miss out on telling them what your actual plans are for making sure that their money is going to a trusted place. Show them what your production schedule looks like, when you're going to be planning to shipping, and update your backers through your updates section. So in the update section, as soon as you hit your goal, whenever you meet a delay, whenever something goes wrong or even right, let your backers know, and they'll really appreciate it because they're actually watching very closely and tracking your updates against the timeline that you promised. And the moment that your updates don't match your timeline, that's when you need to be extra overly communicative about what's happening behind the scenes. The FAQ section is actually rather important as well. You can go into a lot of detail about the product and about your logistics and all of the other things around the project that you didn't get a chance to showcase before. And a good way to frame the FAQ is to ask a rhetorical question and to put the answer right below it. The common questions that you'll expect. We know that backers are going to be interested in things like shipping costs, refunds, and exchanges. So make sure to address those because sometimes those are the things that a customer needs to be assured of before they actually make the purchase. And then on the product side, talk about things like compatibility with other products or compatibility with technology. Talk about differences with competitors and talk about different new technologies that you've introduced that there might be not as much information about on the web or as easily accessible. So make sure to include the FAQ because sometimes for an end user, it's a quick control find and they try to just look for a quick answer to something as easy as refunds. So something that's actually not on the crowdfunding page itself, but very easily accessible to all backers, is the comments and updates section. So let's talk about the updates section first. We talked a little bit about this, but it's just talking to your customers and letting them know that you're working on this project, you're real people, and letting them know about things that are going right and not going right. And an example of something going right that you should actually communicate with your backers is you making great progress on the campaign. So in this backer update by Moment Drone, they're letting their backers know that, hey, we've hit our goal. We're in a good place, guys. Like, continue to share and support us by sharing this link. And things are going great, and you're going to get your product on time. So that's actually good news. You don't always have to post bad news in the updates or let them know that something's going wrong. If you have enough good news, at that moment when you let them know that something's delayed, they're going to have a great reaction to it. The second one here is the comment section, which actually is something from our user experience research, is something that backers are really looking into. So they'll basically click into the comments tab and kind of scroll through and see if there are any questions that they might not have thought of. And they'll look through also at what the campaigner is responding with. So this is a section where you really want to get back to the customers in a relatively good amount of time. I would say within a single day if you can, just so that other people who are seeing the page are seeing that their question is not being ignored. And these are probably common questions where you can aggregate the insights here and put it into your own FAQ. So that actually pretty much covered the whole crowdfunding page. It's relatively simple and straightforward. So you had a product introduction, a summary of benefits to let them know what else is on the page, the main features that you want to highlight, the 3 to 5 key features, and then extra detail and everything else. And that includes team, FAQs, so on and so forth. But I also want to share here some just general good design principles in which to model the entire page on. The first one is that for the images that you're using on the page, make sure that the product images are useful and in context. So I have 2 examples here of that. So for product shots, I've seen a lot of pages where people will post the renderings of the photo in every single angle and just show it across the page without really a goal or purpose, which is to say, we want to know what the product does and how it works, not necessarily how it looks like from every single possible angle. And this is a really good illustration where you can point out all of the different nifty features of what you're offering. And the second one is showing it in context. In context is important for so many reasons. For this product, it is a portable power generator that tends to be a little larger, but actually if you see it in context, it's actually much smaller than other portable power generators on the market. And you can see it next to really high power electronics, like drones with large batteries, a lot of laptops, cameras, music amps, and you're using it outdoors. This gives you a really strong idea of how the product is positioned and what it actually is. So in context shots are really important for you as an end customer to imagine yourself using it. I think branding is something that you should consider as you're starting your company for the first time or even launching a new product and you want to showcase a story to your backers. So a good example here is Travis. And Travis is the handheld translator device that we saw earlier. It's a product that raised over $1 million. And if you just look at the product images, for example, if I just put this product image all across the page, it actually does not look super appealing standalone. But I think once we add some branding, story elements around what this brand is, what it stands for, you're going to find that it really makes a difference to the backers. So instead of showcasing this product as their main thumbnail, they actually showcased a bunch of faces from people from different places across the world. Small little minor details like on top of the Travis, the I dot is actually a little message icon. Just everything that showcases that what this company is about. And then throughout the page using the same color scheme, that orange, it's really easy to read. You know what you're focused on. And it's just something that gives you a good design principle so that for every new image, every new subtitle that you're looking to add to the page, it's not too much of a thought process. It's just something that helps the customer know that they're going to continue reading. And then the campaign video. The campaign video is a whole nother topic here, but to touch on it briefly, remember that the campaign video is not necessarily a commercial. So pursuing that Apple style of presentation where you zoom in on the product, showcase it from 360 degrees on a black screen is not always considered a good commercial, so to speak. It's something where you want to give information to customers. At the end of the day, the customer just wants to learn more and see if they're interested. And they want to see it being used. So to describe that a little further, we have a lot of features on this mini drone called Drone here. Features such as GPS and vision positioning. It only weighs 3 ounces. It has sonar sensors. For an end customer, though, what does that really mean? So for GPS and vision positioning, the actual benefit of that is that it follows you around, it has an auto-follow function, and can take pictures of you. Now that's a really great benefit and something that I can relate to and that other customers can relate to. The second one is 3 ounces in weight. That sounds light, but again, I don't really have a strong notion of how much drones are supposed to weigh. So instead, you let them know that this Ku drone is compact and portable relative to other drones. And the last one here, the sonar sensors. For someone who's not familiar with that terminology, it's actually a feature that allows you to fly indoors. So you can use the drone indoors to take photos. And that's a very clear way to showcase to users all of the benefits of the product, rather than just creating a video where you're going through all the different features. So I think one tip to sum it all up, whether it's design principles or the page that you're designing, just focus on what your customers care about. Anytime you're reviewing your own page or getting someone else to look at it for you, just put yourself in the shoe of the customer and say, does this make sense to me from a customer's perspective? Is this something I care about? Can I imagine myself using this? So as sort of the first note on that, present solutions, not problems. Don't frame your entire product or project around a problem that you're solving. Because if you're solving one problem that you have and someone else could see your product as a solution for something else, you've already distanced them from you because they don't have the same problems as you. But we can all share the same solutions for a single product. The second one is using images. It's missing an I there. Using images and media, not text, as much as possible. If you can show something graphically through an image, through a table, do that. Avoid having walls of text throughout your page. And the last one is just being transparent and honest. We've got a lot of great features. Some of them actually may not be fully developed yet, but just let your backers know that. Don't overpromise things. Just promise exactly what you hope to offer, and the backers who want it will support you. So that concludes my presentation on campaign pages. I'll stick around for questions if you have any, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Sandy?
You said 50% of users come through mobile rather than PC. How many do a lot of people back through mobile compared to PC?
That's an interesting question. The percentage is actually a lot lower on people who back directly on mobile, but it relates to price point. So for customers through crowdfunding, if a product costs more than $100, they're less likely to make that purchase on mobile. They much prefer to make purchases for expensive items on desktop because they can think about it, get more information, securely input their credit cards.
Any more?
I have just one question. As your business model, Indiegogo, is a platform allows some people to raise money from the backers for some interesting ideas. Does your company provide some guarantee or securities for the backers who invest money to someone who claim they will ship, but finally cannot?
So the answer is no. In the past, we did not. But from our platform regulation perspective, we've introduced 2 new areas in which we want to not necessarily ensure and protect and refund every backer who doesn't get the good end of the deal, but make sure that these situations don't happen. So the first one is verifying whether or not you really have a prototype. So if your project launches, you claim you're in concept stage as a company, and if a backer still chooses to back you, they're inherently taking that risk to support a team that's in concept stage. And if they choose to only back projects that are in production or in prototype, that's their choice as well. So we want to make it more transparent, the stage in which the company is at. So that's the first one. And the second one is that if you're claiming that you're in these stages, you need to prove it to our team. So you can't just say like, hey everyone, I'm in production, but still only be a concept. You actually have to go through our team, send us a video, send us a sample of the product working, and then we will verify that that is true information.
Hi, I have 2 questions. Number one is that what's the percentage of the company or products in Indiegogo that reaches 100% of the funding goal. Number two question is that it appears to be I thought there might be a standard of videos or contents that Indiegogo uses. Is that something that that we come up with, or is that something Indiegogo can help us orchestrating, making it happen?
What was the first question?
Yeah, I know there are two very different questions. The first question is what percentage of the company reaches 100% goal?
So the 100% funding goal percentage, I do not know off the top of my head, but I will say that that number is generally a little bit of a skewed impression of how many projects are successful. We know for a fact that if you set your goal lower and you hit your goal faster, then it appears successful to backers. So teams are always incentivized to set a goal that's attainable. So I think I don't know if the number off the top of my head, and even if I had it, I think it's something that doesn't really tell you much about it. And then the video question, I'm happy to help work with any team one-on-one with that. We have a lot of things around templates. For the industry in general, though, the type of content that's great for videos is not really dictated by us as a platform. I think it's just the style of video and product introductions you see across the web in general. So I think media like Facebook and Instagram are shaping how we talk about videos. One new trend I've been seeing in videos is having the text overlays on top of the products inside the videos. And that actually really came out because Facebook's autoplay videos, the videos that play without sound. So it's really beneficial to have text inside of the video content. So that's just one example, but we actually do work with teams one-on-one, help you revise your scripts and give you direction on that.
Just want to ask, you say there is a validation process before launching the campaign, right? How long does it usually take from the application to the actual launch date?
The validation process is not designed to be a bottleneck, so you can actually launch the campaign while the validation process is happening. But if at the time we ask for the materials, you aren't able to prove it, we'll bump you back to concept stage or prototype stage or whatever it is that we believe your materials showcase.
What is the, so there is, your competitor is Kickstarter, right? Okay, so what is the big difference between Indiegogo and Kickstarter?
Yes, that's a great question. I like to think, and I think our customers and projects showcase that Indiegogo is very much a platform that is focused on products. So if you go through the site, you're going to see that these are products that are shipping ready, products that you can tangibly use and experience with your hands. And I think that a lot of the new features we're enabling, such as marketplace, in-demand, almost like pre-orders, is heading towards the path of e-commerce in general. So we're a platform that's really great for new ideas to spring forth, but also a platform that's great for products that are ready to sell. So relative to Kickstarter, we do not have categories such as video games and board games, which are actually two of their largest categories.
The question is whether is Indiegogo centralized working, means you're starting everything from US in communication, or do you have local teams supporting and verifying or whatever is going on with your projects?
Our centralized review teams are all headquartered in the US because we need to communicate internally in the team. But we do have staff like myself who try to travel across the world to support the project owners that are launching.
Okay, hi. Talking about crowdfunding, when you talk to Kickstarter or Indiegogo, by the way, I like Indiegogo much better, but talking to these crowdfunding companies, always I hear that needed to create a successful social networking and the product should be already popular. But, okay, it's a good thing to have, but is it absolutely necessary to have millions of followers on Facebook? Because actually, is there any chance that only by launching a campaign on Indiegogo it's possible to attract people in case the product is really hot?
Absolutely. That is a fantastic question. I get it a lot. I have a lot of teams who come up to me and ask me, like, how much do I need to reserve in Facebook advertising budgets? How many emails do I need to be successful? And I think this is speaking to the community that you're talking about before you launch. The answer is no, it's not absolutely necessary. But it is necessary to prove and to validate and to confirm that you have a market who wants the product. I actually know a lot of great examples of projects that have spent $0 in advertising, still raised $1 million on the platform, and still were very successful. And that's because they launched, they went viral, and they had a product that everybody wanted. But there's no path to guaranteeing that your project goes viral, so to speak. There's really no set of things that you can do to ensure that. So our best bet then is to use advertising, use our social communities to showcase and to prove that we actually do have some interest from customers, and then expand on that once we launch the campaign, which is why we always recommend going into the campaign and collecting emails and doing marketing in advance. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you.
Any more?
Some products are featured in Indiegogo page. Is there any criteria that the product would be featured? Is it chosen by an editor in Indiegogo, or you have some algorithm that popular will go top of the page?
It's actually a combination of two. I would say the split is about 80% determined by our platform algorithm, which is determined on the basis of projects that are trending. It depends on recency, it depends on comments and activity and engagement. And then the second one is determined by our editorial team. So anytime you get the chance to meet someone from Indiegogo, like myself or any other of my colleagues, it's good to make a connection with us because our marketing team is always asking us for recommendations on features.
How frequent is the update? Because I often see several products. Would it update every week or every day?
So for our promotions, I think on the trending tabs, that anything related to trending on the platform, that's actually real-time updates. And then for certain areas that seem to be more curated, like for example, Indiegogo's top picks or top picks for you, sections like that, those actually update probably once a week or so.
Any more? So if you got more questions, you feel very welcome to ask Sandy directly at the floor. So thank you very much, Sally, for your amazing sharing. Please give a big clap.